This dress doesn't have a pocket. Why? Alright, so to add some pockets to the dress, first we're gonna start by making the pocket bag. So I've got some fabric here and I'm measuring my hand, but a little bit more than my hand, because if it was just the size of my hand, it would be really difficult to put in and out of the pocket. And also phones these days are kind of bigger than your hand, if not like around the same size, so it's better to just have a bigger pocket, especially if you want to put your hand and your phone and your wallet or whatever inside at the same time. Let's just make it bigger. And anyway, these days, or maybe for a long time, I don't know for how long, but women's wear has the lamest pockets ever. They're either not there, they're fake, or they're too small. So I'm not into that. I'm making a big freaking pocket. And here I'm flipping the fabric over because you want 4 pieces. 2 for one pocket and 2 for the other side. I'm using a water bottle as a fabric weight and then cutting it out together. Probably good to pin the fabric together, but I was feeling confident, so I didn't. I've been doing this for a long time, so maybe it's not right, but like I said, I felt confident. Up to you if you want to not use pins or not. The next step is to go to the dress and mark where you want the top of the pocket opening, which I'm doing here with a needle, because I didn't have pins at the time. I do now, don't worry everyone. Then I've already decided how big I want the opening to be on the yellow fabric, which is the new pocket. So I'm gonna line that up here and mark where the end of the opening will be. You can see there's kind of small pink line on the edge of the yellow fabric there. So that's where I'll put the next pin in, and from this point on we will be undoing the side seam of the dress between the 2 pins to open it up for the pocket. The next step is optional, but for my sanity I'm drawing a seam allowance about 1 centimeter in on all of the pocket pieces so that I can sew a perfect line, and I don't have to think about it as much when I'm at the machine here. Okay, so as you can see I'm not sewing the pocket to the dress yet, I'm just going above the pocket opening I created and sewing a little bit up and down to close off the side seam again, because we've cut it. It's weakened the stitch by cutting it. There's no closure to it by going back and forth like you might normally do. So I just reinforce the sides and then I'm pinning the pocket in opening to opening, 1 by 1. So I haven't sewn the pocket bags together yet. I'm just sewing one bag to one side of the dress. Now I'm sewing the two bags together, carefully lining up the needle of the sewing machine to the previous stitches I've done so that it's right up close to each other. No holes, please. After the opening of the pocket towards the bottom, there's extra pocket bag flapping around. To avoid that flapping around, I'm sewing it down side seam of dress to side seam of pocket. This is all on the inside, so none of it will show on the outside. It's just to keep the pocket in place. This next step is also totally optional. I am hand basting or hand temporary sewing the pocket down to the front panel of the dress. The reason I'm doing this is because although I've sewn that extra bit at the side seam, which was the step just before this, to keep it from flapping around, well, it will still flap around a little bit. Because the dress doesn't have a waist seam to attach the top to, if you put your hand in and out of this pocket, it'll kind of be okay, but it might, like, the pocket bag might come out with your hand. And that means that things can kind of fall out of your pocket if you're not careful enough, especially light things like towels or paper or something. So, depending on your garment, this might be a good option for you too. I'm quickly hand basting it and then I'll flip it over and top stitch it down. And I guess before I get going, I'm going to do a little zigzag stitch here to keep the edges from fraying too much. This is a must in my opinion, basically. If you've got a zigzag option or an overlocker, please do this so it doesn't fray, especially if you wash it in a machine like I do. Okay, so now I'm going to start the optional top stitching. I'm also doing this in a zigzag, just because I think it looks nice. It could be straight, it could be like scalloped, whatever stitch you want to use. Or you could do this totally by hand so that it's a little bit more visible. But because this dress is a kind of gingham weave, it's really not that obvious anyway that I've stitched it, so anyway, this is all optional and dependent on your garment. Which reminds me, you can use this technique on things that are not dresses that don't have pockets too. But things like trousers might be a little bit difficult and kind of different technique depending on the trousers. If they were like really loose, baggy ones, maybe fine. But fitted or stretchy fabric jeans, might have to make another video. If that's what you want, let me know. The final result. I've got pockets in my dress, finally! I've had this dress for so long and I've loved it, but it didn't have pockets. Why? Okay, now it does. I feel relieved. And it has longer sleeves, which is a video I've already uploaded. And I made a hat. Video coming soon for that too. Yay, videos, woo!